So the book I'm reviewing today is Venus in the Blind Spot by Junji Ito. This book is a horror manga short story collection by author and illustrator Junji Ito, and within are 10 short stories. Now, 2 of these short stories I've read in other collections, and I think it was Gyo, if I'm not mistaken. So 8 of these were actually new to me. In this review, I'll be going over each of the stories and telling you my initial thoughts. I'm not going to be spoiling anything, so you don't have to worry about that. Jeez. So the first story is Billions Alone. And I really enjoyed this one. After reading it, I went online to see what other people thought about it. And a lot of people consider it to be one of Junji Ito's best short stories. Yeah, I agree. It's in my top 10. So it starts out with this guy who's walking his dog, and he comes across these bodies that have been stripped down to their underwear, and they're sewn together with fishing line. That's all I really want to say about that. It's really good. I highly recommend this one. So the next story is The Human Chair. And it's an adaptation of an older short story, which I also believe is called The Human Chair. And it was written by this author right here. So the story starts off with this writer who's suffering writer's block, and she's walking the streets. I think she's like on vacation or something. And she comes across this furniture store, and she ends up going in to order a new chair because apparently her old one just is hurting her back. I bet a lot of people can relate to that. And the store owner ends up telling her a tale about how a chair changed someone's life. This one, it was okay. Yeah, that's pretty much all I can really say about it. Some people might enjoy it. I thought it was a little meh. So the next story is An Unearthly Love. And this one is an adaptation as well. The original story was written by the same author as The Human Chair. Anyway, apparently this author was one of Junji Ito's inspirations as a young writer. And I bet Junji Ito still likes this author. I've never heard of him. Alright, so this story starts off with an arranged marriage, I believe, because the main character says that she's never met the man that she's there to marry. And like she's heard rumors of this guy, that he's like a hater of women, and he's like moody. But anyway, she ends up marrying this guy, and she finds out that he's actually quite kind to her. And he constantly says, "I love you." Overall, I liked the story. I didn't think it was great. I just thought it was good. I like the ending, but yeah. So the next story is the namesake of the book, Venus in the Blind Spot. And it revolves around this character, which her name's Eluding Me. It starts off with her looking into the sky at a UFO, and she's actually the chairperson of this UFO community. The thing is about this, alright, so yeah, she's the chairperson of this community, and the members are all men. Like, you find out why they're all men, and all of these guys are actually in love with her. Somewhere along the line, she ends up disappearing. Not disappearing like going missing, but they can see her from like far away, but when she gets close to them, she just vanishes. This one, again, it was okay. I didn't really, it was fine. I mean, the cover's cool. I mean, seriously, the cover for the book's really good. The story, eh. The next story is The Licking Woman. This one was actually very similar to like an urban legend or something. So if you like urban legends, I think a lot of people will enjoy this one. So it starts off with this guy who's walking down the street at night. It's it's humid and windy, and that's actually when the licking woman comes out, is on nights like that. He ends up seeing her, and she licks him, and the effects of the lick are, let's just say that they're deadly. The ending kind of confused me a little bit, but yeah, I'm kind of interested to find out what really happened. Because, no, I mean, I know what happened, but there was some things kind of maybe went over my head and I didn't understand it. I read this story like twice just so I could make sure that I wasn't missing anything. But overall, it was an okay story. The next story is Master Ume's and Me. I actually really like this one. It's sort of like non-fiction and autobiographical. It's sort of like a non-fiction story where Junji Ito talks about one of his favorite manga artists. Yeah, it goes from his childhood. He tells you his first manga that his sisters got him. It's basically sort of a love letter to his favorite author. And the thing about this story is that it's funny. So it's a good change of pace from the other stories. I like this one. I recommend it. It's good. So the next story is How Love Came to Professor Kirito. I don't know how to pronounce that name, so I don't know. This one too is an adaptation, and the original story is by Robert Hitchens. Honestly, it didn't really do anything for me. And essentially, the story is about this professor who's like a misanthrope, which, you know, like a hater of people. He's an author and a literary scholar, and there's this woman who's learning from him, and he's just absolutely mean to her. He ends up contacting this priest to talk to him about Christianity, because he's writing a novel about Christianity, and the main character really is the priest. I don't know. I feel scattered. I read it yesterday, and I'm still kind of like mulling it over in my head. Okay, the thing about Junji Ito is some of his endings have twists. Some of them leave you just like, what the hell just happened? You know what I'm saying? Or like, what did I just read? And those I really like. This one, it ends where it's like, what the heck did I just read? But in a confusing way. How do I put this? It's almost like it's missing something. I don't know. I think it seems like it's a watered down version of the original story. So there's like details that have been left out. That's just how I felt. It felt like there was something missing from the story. Okay, so the next story is The Enigma of the Amargara Fault. I first read this story in Gyo. I think it's collected in that one. But I did reread it for this book, and it's just as good as I remember. This one's considered one of Junji Ito's best stories. The thing about this one is it's so unique, and I don't think you're going to be able to find a story like it. So basically what happens is there's an earthquake and a mountain cracks open, and there's a fault line, right? It starts off with this guy who is walking, and he ends up meeting this girl, and they end up teaming up and going to the fault together, right? On this fault, there are human-shaped holes, right? It's the weirdest thing, but it works. And this girl tells the main character that she has found her hole. Like, it's the weirdest story, but it works, and it will stick with you for the rest of your life. Like, it's gonna stick with me for the rest of my life. It's just such a good story. I love this one. So the next story is The Sad Tale of the Principal Post. Now, there's really not much to say about this one, because if I really say anything, I'll probably spoil it, because it's the shortest story in this collection. When I think of this story, I think about Junji Ito like waking up in the middle of the night and just having this idea. So he's like, I'm gonna put it into a story, because there's really not a story in this one. It's not really not in the traditional sense, but it's an idea really, and it's a weird one. It's Junji Ito. I read it. And the final story is Keepsake. I consider this one to be pretty good, in my opinion. Right. So it starts off in this graveyard, and this guy hears like a baby crying in a grave, right? And they end up digging up the grave, and they find that there's a baby in the grave. I don't know how else to say it. There's much more to this story, but it's a baby in a grave. It's freaking weird. So that concludes my review of Venus in the Blind Spot. From all the books that I've read of Junji Ito, it's probably my least favorite. It's not bad, but it's not like, great. And a lot of the stories, to me at least, seem like they're forgettable, and I might forget some of them. Other than Billions Alone, what the heck? Why am I blanking? The Enigma of the Amargara Fault. Other than those stories, I don't know. I wasn't really feeling it. So maybe a 3 out of 5. I'll give it. I think it's worth picking up if you're a Junji Ito fan. That's it. This is my review.